Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the WeShape podcast.
Hey, everybody.
I'm here with Nina and Tyler. We have a really good topic today. I really wanted to take a moment and do an episode surrounding intentions. So at WeShape, we have 4 different pillars that we believe really help people go down a path to wellness rather than a path of, self-judgment and weight loss and all these things we've been told we need to do. And so when we were kind of developing our core values as a company and kind of figuring out a way we can help the community that we have here at WeShape go down a different path, we said, what do we feel is really important? So we said, we really feel like we have to address intentions. We have to address movement versus exercise. We have to address having a community to support you, and we have to address our belief systems. But today I want to talk about intentions. And in all transparency, I decided to move forward with that pillar because of Gary Zukav's book, Seed of the Soul. He has multiple chapters in that book around intentions. If you even just Google him and he's on YouTube, you can go see he was on Oprah 25 times or something crazy. I don't know, 20
I
times.
think it was more than that. Yeah.
Slightly minor.
And I'm sure he does an entire episode that you can find on YouTube just around intentions, because I think that word is interesting, right? I don't know, maybe share with me what you guys think that word means, because he opened my eyes to this idea around how we embody intentions, but just curious your guys' perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I'll expand on my own story of kind of how I came to this conclusion in a little bit. But to me, the intention means why you're doing something. If you go throughout your day and you do 1,000 things, why did you do each one of those 1,000 things? And a lot of time, people I just don't think ever take a moment to pause and even ask that question. And it takes even more time to find something that you go, why did I do that? And actually sit in that long enough to be able to understand maybe there's something deeper in there that is the underlying reason why you did that. So to me, the intention means kind of why you're doing things, why you're showing up, why you're making decisions.
That's funny, because the thing that comes to mind for me when I think about intention is setting an intention for your day, starting your day with this idea. I want to be, for instance, sometimes I wake up and I say to myself, let me be helpful to others today. Taking the pressure off some of my other actions and behaviors and stuff and saying, this is my main priority today and this is what I'm going to focus on. And hopefully that can be woven throughout all of my actions today. Yeah. So similar, but somewhat of a different concept, I guess. But I think they both fall into line.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things that he highlighted in his book, and I'm going to read 2 quotes from the book, but before I do that, this kind of eye-opening perspective that I got around intention was we often think that we're acting from intention, but we often are not. And so a common example is when you're having a conflict with another person, right? Sometimes the thing I like to do is pause and say, what is my intention with this person? Because often what my emotional or cognitive intention with that person is not aligned with how I'm actually behaving.
Yeah.
Right? So it's
I think if we all pause long enough, we can recognize that in ourselves.
Yes. And so let me just open my book here. So he basically says he says a lot about intention, but I picked 2 things. So the first thing he says is your intentions create the reality that you experience. Until you become aware of this, it happens unconsciously. Therefore, be mindful of what you project. That is the first step toward authentic power. And so this is kind of, I think, what he's saying is we often think we have intentions, but really the way you know if your intentions are aligned is if your actions are an expression of that intention.
Right.
And he talks a lot about authentic power, which I wish we had 3 hours and I could go over this book. Honestly, this book took me 6 months to read, and it will be one of those books that I read over and over because you can just skim over it. But the truth is every paragraph, my mind, when you really sit on it, is blown. And so he constantly goes to this idea that as human beings, we have this tendency to reach outside of ourselves to create power within. And he's trying to bring people back to this authentic power. And he believes that authentic power comes from that initial intention. And so it brings up a lot of stuff around mindfulness for me, right? here's my intention, and I need to continuously come back to that to make sure that my actions are aligned. And this is completely relevant to what we're trying to do at WeShape, because when people come in with the intention for weight loss or the intention to change how their body looks, or those are all forms of trying to get validation and power from outside. Achieving those quote unquote goals will not create authentic power. So the first thing we do when people come to WeShape is we ask them their why or their intention.
Yeah.
Why are you here? And if
Can
it
I
is,
touch on that
yes,
part too?
please.
Because I feel like I discovered this part in different ways. And I think we're all saying the same thing, is that most people think they're operating out of intention, meaning I'm deciding how I want to be and how I want to act and who I want to be today. But most of the time we're operating out of conditioning, right? Which is just
Unconscious behaviors.
Unconscious
Autopilot,
behaviors. This
yeah.
is things that got laid down when we were kids, and we were, like you said, we want validation from this person, so we're making this decision. But regarding the why piece and why this is so important to me, I started realizing early on when I was working with people as clients that they would set these really soft goals, I guess you could say, right? Well, what's your why? Oh, I want to lose 10 pounds, right? And, okay, great. Like, let's try to lose 10 pounds. But it just never felt like it created enough inspiration inside of them for them to really want to show up for these things. It was like they were doing it for some reason that they think would make them happy, but it's not really going to make them happy.
Well, that's the authentic power.
Yeah.
So you're using the word inspiration.
Yeah.
I think if you take it even deeper, it's authentic power.
Yeah.
And when we try to do something because society or the magazine or social media tells us this what will make you happy, you're using that as a metric for your happiness instead of using something inside of you.
Yeah, it's extrinsically motivated, meaning you're trying to get something outside of you to make you feel good. And what we're trying to do is pivot to intrinsic motivation. So somebody comes to me and they say, I want to X, Y, and Z. Actually, I'll tell the story I had. I had this trainer that was working for us, and I said, what's your main goal right now physically? And she said, I want to be able to do a squat on one leg. And I was like, okay, great. I worked with a lot of people who wanted to gain strength and things like that. But I was like, hey, why? She's like, well, I want to have really strong legs. And I was like, well, why do you want to have really strong legs? And she's like, well, I've had this kind of pain in my knees a little bit, and I feel like if I have really strong legs, that pain will go away. I was like, oh, so you're having a little bit of pain. So why do you want to fix that pain? Well, I really want to fix that pain so I can get back to running. Oh, well, why do you want to get back to running? Oh, I used to run marathons with my dad, and I absolutely loved doing that, and I can't do that anymore because my knee's in so much pain. I was like, whoa. This is the power of
You want connection
asking.
with your dad.
This is what you really want. And it's okay. Like, we can still look at it and say, okay, let's get you back to doing that thing, right? But if you set your goal and then you ask yourself those whys 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, every time the answer gets a little bit deeper. And once you get to that deep one that just feels like, oh, this is why I'm doing this. That's the one that keeps you inspired. That's the one that comes from what you're saying, that authentic power rather than external motivation and external power.
Well, this is why I hypothesize that all the diets and the exercise programs don't work.
Yeah.
Because they're not coming from a place of authentic power. They're coming from a place of needing external validation.
Yeah.
We want to all know that we are accepted and we are loved and we are cared for and we are worthy. And I know that a lot of people come to us because they just want to work out, and I'm always like, so sorry that you're getting so much more, but it's all connected.
Can
right?
I expand on that really quick? Because
Yeah.
I feel like I was seeing just a clear connection that I feel like people can hear. Like you said, you're doing this to become worthy, right? So when most people join a fitness program or anything where it's transforming the way they look, their goal is, I'm doing this because I don't feel worthy. And it's the feeling of not feeling worthy that prevents them from actually being consistent with any program in the first place. And what we're trying to do with WeShape is we're trying to say, hey, pause for a second. You're already worthy. You're already worthy. You don't have to do anything to be worthy of love. Now, why are you going to show up and take care of your body? Right? And that to me is such a different experience than, hey, you should feel like crap if you don't look a certain way. And
Or I'm
keep
here to
trying
lose
to
weight
show up
or-
out of that.
Well, I was
Yeah.
going to say too, like, we look at these magazine images and media images and like, it'll say like, lose 10 pounds or whatever inches off your waist. And we see that messaging so constantly. And like, if you ask people around you, like if you were like, hey, Nina, would you love me more if I were 10 pounds thinner? I'd be like, what are you talking about? It would affect
be upset,
zero of
yeah.
how I feel about you. Right. And so we're like given this image of like, do that thing, it'll make you feel better. And you're like, but why? That doesn't even come authentically from who I am. It wouldn't change me actually at all.
And I think a lot of it is unconscious. I just need to lose weight. And I just really want to empower people that I promise you that is not a sustainable goal. and that we have to go a little bit deeper if we're looking for some level of sustainability here.
Yeah.
So I really want people to be able, even if you don't know, if you're just listening and you're just starting WeShape, it's okay to not know. It's okay to say, you know, I don't know what my intention is, but I do want to try something different. So we could even say something simple like, I just want to learn to connect with my body in a different way, right? And I think that the intention has to be first. I think in our program, sometimes we say movement because people come to us for the workout. So I'm like, okay, I'll do movement first. But I want to include the intention piece in there because I feel like when we get off course, like sometimes when I'm like looking at someone on social media, I'm like, oh, I wish. And then I go, whoa, whoa, whoa. Is this behavior, is this thought aligned with your true intention? And is that intention creating authentic power and an internal validation, or are you looking for that outside of yourself? So having that why and having that intention can continuously bring you back to evaluating if your behaviors are aligned with what you're hoping to do.
Yeah. And just two things there that I think is important for people to hear. One, that first intention and why, it's okay for that to be like the superficial top level thing, right? That's where you have to start sometimes to go a little deeper. So maybe you tried WeShape or some other program, right? And you're like, I want to lose 20 pounds or 30 pounds or whatever, right? Great. That's a good starting point. Why? What's the real reason there? Does your body hurt and you want it to feel better? Do you want to be able to keep up with your kids, your grandkids, your partner? Do you want to be able to go do something physically that you used to be able to do that you really enjoyed? Like, what's the real thing there? And then just keep asking that why. And then just the second point to this is you might find something fairly deep right now, and that's great. A couple months from now, let's go back and ask a couple more whys and see if it goes a step deeper. And oftentimes what I experience is that I see people go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper every time they ask this why. And it just goes to this more meaningful place of self-care. So to just kind of put a bow on this thing, if you can't find a why that feels like it's coming from a place of self-care, there's probably something you do in your life to care for yourself, right? There's probably something, what is it? Like you wash your face a certain way.
Mostly brush your teeth
Yeah,
every
brush
day.
your teeth, or like the way you take a shower, or maybe something that you do for your clothes or make your bed, or I don't know, something that you do for yourself that makes you feel good, that's caring for yourself. That's the space we want to feel. That's the feeling we want to have when we're thinking about why we're showing up for our workouts, why we're showing up to go into our community. It's got to be from that space of self-care.
I want to ask you guys, like, do you feel like the extent of someone's ability to care for their mind and their spirit and their body is a direct reflection on their self-worth?
I certainly do. I also think that like one of my favorite quotes around this is you actually can't hate yourself into a version of yourself that you'll love. And if you,
Hold on. Say that one again. Say that one again.
Rewind that.
Say that one again.
Yeah.
you actually can't hate yourself into a version of yourself that you'll love. And we
So
do
can
that
we-
so
can we
many
write
times.
that down somewhere?
I mean, I didn't make it up. I heard it
Yeah.
somewhere. I'm totally just sharing
That's a
something that's
tattoo.
beautiful. But the rest of that quote basically is it would have worked by now if that were the case.
Ooh.
Right? So it's time to try something different. It's time to shift those intentions.
Should have led with that.
Yeah.
In the
Sorry,
podcast.
guys. Sorry, Gary Zukav.
Had that one in my back
you
pocket
know,
for y'all.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna read the other quote I wanted to read, which is just another way of saying what we're saying, which is every experience and every change in your experience reflects an intention. An intention is not only a desire, it's a use of your will. So sometimes it's not really enough to just like have hope. Do you know what I mean? Like, and this is what I'm saying is like the use of your will. As human beings, we have free will. That's what I'm saying around when you set an intention of I want to connect with my body, and then you go down this journey, which is okay. We all get off course. I do very frequently. And then you start fixating on the weight loss. All I'm saying is that's okay. Don't judge that. But remember, you have free will in this. And remember that you can come back and say, wait a minute, is this behavior, is this use of my will aligned with my original intention? So it's not about judging the behavior or the thought. It's about acknowledging that that behavior is not aligned with the intention. And you have the ability to have free will to shift that.
Yeah. So the more, what I'm hearing you say is, the more authentic that intention is, the more clarified that intention is, the more likely we are to act throughout our day from that place, right? So if I'm just like, oh, I want to lose 10 pounds, and it's like coming from this like external validation and motivation, and then, oh, I'm like, it's coming from this place of insecurity, then I'm going to probably self-sabotage along the way at some point. I'm probably not going to stick with whatever I'm trying to do. I'm going to go from thing to thing with this wishful thinking about some goal I think I want.
Yeah.
Versus, hold on,
sorry,
let me
go
say
ahead.
versus, I really, really, really want to feel good in my body because I want to be able to keep up with my kids, because I want to be able to do something that I physically enjoy for as long as possible. So, because I don't want the drain of aches, pains, tightness, et cetera, in my body that happens inside your mind when you're experiencing that. And then all of a sudden acting from that place, right? Really showing up for it, because it's like brushing your teeth, right? You don't have to be convinced to brush your teeth. You just do it. So why don't we move our bodies, right? Why don't we have a intention that comes from that place that gives us the inspiration to move our bodies?
Yeah, I think it's twofold. I think it's that. I think it's around setting a meaningful intention is part one. And then I think the second part is understanding that we're setting that intention, but likely we haven't been trained consciously to follow that intention.
Right.
So when we get off course or when our behaviors are not reflecting that intention, I think I'm saying, like, don't judge that.
Yeah.
Just accept that, but then incorporate mindfulness to that intention to see if your behaviors and your ability to have free will are reflecting that intention. So when people come in, it's like, set that intention, and we really encourage you to set it beyond weight loss. And if you're stuck in that and you don't know, you could even start with, and these can evolve, right? Your intentions evolve.
Yeah.
You can start with, I want to learn how to connect with my body more and feel good in my body. And then allow yourself to be off course. Like, that's going to happen. And don't judge that. But then bring in that mindfulness piece that brings you back to that intention and make sure your actions are aligned.
What you keep saying that is sticking out to me is that there's some curiosity here. Like, so many of us, I think, like you said, go through this autopilot life where we're like, I make this decision and I think it's from my free will or whatever, and it's really not. And so to have curiosity around your own thoughts, your own motivations, and all those things gives you the opportunity to say, whoa, this isn't aligned. Because I don't know. I mean, I try to practice this in my daily life, but there are days where I totally go to bed and go, what did I do today? And why did I do it? You know, and
that's being
not
a human.
everyone's taught that.
And so giving yourself kindness and grace when we walk away from our intentions and not judging that is fine. I mean, we're like heavily immersed in this idea of breaking toxic weight loss culture and paving a new path and leading a new way. And sometimes I get really hard on myself because I'm like, oh, I'm still getting off course sometimes.
Totally.
And I should be leading this. And I'm like, whoa, you're a human being. We need to give ourselves grace and kindness through the process of shifting our intentions. But we're just asking people to show up and evaluate those intentions and then try to incorporate a little bit of mindfulness around the power that you have within to kind of come back to those intentions. That's all we're doing. We're not saying don't be a human and change overnight. That's not how this works. We're saying set a meaningful intention and try to come back.
Curiosity is really important. The compassion for self is really important. And I just wanted to say those two again, because that's what I hear you guys saying a lot is, again, and we say this in a lot of podcasts, but I think around your intention, especially when you notice your actions not aligning with maybe what your intention is, then that's time for curiosity to come in and also compassion to come in. Okay, it's okay. It's like, I know you shared a story recently about a woman who came, I haven't done my workouts in like 2 weeks and stuff like that. And again, the more we like shame and guilt ourselves, it doesn't motivate us. What the phrase you said,
I don't
right?
even like the word motivation.
Yeah.
I got to be honest. I want to I hate that word.
Yeah, motivation.
We're not here to try to motivate people. I'm here to try to bring people back to themselves, which creates authentic power, which drives their behaviors.
Yeah.
And those behaviors can be whatever works for them. I'm not here to judge those behaviors. I'm not here to direct those behaviors. I'm here to offer an opportunity to join a community that is connecting with our body in a different way, from a way of authentic power. And what I'm saying is, and what Gary Zukav is saying is, it starts with the intention. And so we just want to continue to offer that to our community, and we're here to support each other as we're human beings through this experience. So,
and if you guys are curious about why we're talking about this as it relates to WeShape, a part of the process when somebody joins us and they go through our initial couple weeks, is we ask them to set an intention, right? And we put it right in front of them, right in the middle of the dashboard. We say, this is their intention, right? And again, it starts probably pretty superficial, and maybe it goes a little bit deeper. And then we continuously examine these, especially when you join things like our challenges, which are free to all of our members, where we really ask people, hey, take that intention and go deeper and deeper and deeper. And the deeper we go, the more meaningful it is, the easier it is for you to show up taking actions that are aligned with that intention. Because like you're saying, you're removing that external motivation need, and it's coming from a place of what you're saying and Gary's saying, authentic power. And I like to use the word inspiration, because when you're inspired, it feels like you're being pulled to do something
And it
not
feels
being pushed to
good.
do something. It feels
Yeah.
good.
Right?
Yeah.
It doesn't feel bad. Like being
Yeah.
like, I have to get motivated today. Like there's like this negative energy around that.
Yeah,
But
totally.
inspired, you're like, I'm inspired. I want to go do this hike because I love being outside. Like those things just feel different.
They
Yeah.
totally do. And this is a process. We're all learning how to develop a new relationship with self that comes from that place of authentic power and inspiration. And that does not happen overnight.
Yeah.
So
No.
we welcome the human
patient with
experience
yourself.
here. And yeah, I'm grateful that we were able to have this conversation and bring clarity to why we talk a lot about intention and how powerful I think it can be. So thank you, everyone, for listening. You're always welcome to reach out to us at podcast@WeShape.com. And we will see you next week.
Bye, everybody.